And I need a haircut. Hello, Jacksonites, and welcome to the 2022 year-end review. This is going to be my final video of 2022 because, as I established last year, the last month of the year is when things get very family heavy and centric. So I've just decided that I think a new routine that I'm going to be doing is taking the December off. And no, yeah, probably just December. So, yes, indeed, the 2022 year end review. So, it's hard for me to really gauge how my audience reacts to videos that I do because even though I have 360 something subscribers, I barely get very many comments. So I don't really know how my audience reacts to um, my videos. But I actually think the most avid watcher of my videos is me. I watch my videos a lot while I'm at work to just kind of keep me in the YouTube spirit. Also, not to be stuck up and full of myself, but I kind of do like hearing the stuff that I have to say about my reviews, so they're fun. But I don't know if anybody has noticed or if it's just been me. 2022 seemed to be kind of a difficult year for me on YouTube. Just been very hit or miss, or I just think it's been a mixed bag. There's a part of me, honestly, that wants to call 2022 in terms of content kind of a failure, honestly. While I did do quite a few projects this year that I really did enjoy, it seemed like most projects that I started just seemed to kind of fizzle out. And I was just relying on, well, I'll just do some now and do some later. Even though in some cases, actually, no. The two series that I can think of that I tried to do off the top of my head that I stopped doing was my Spider Man franchise review and my um, Star Wars franchise review. Both I plan to do a lot more. With Spider Man, I plan to review after Amazing Spider Man 2. I plan to review Spider Man Into the Spider Verse and the two Venom films. But it was a combination of both being disappointed by Venom Let There Be Carnage and being overwhelmingly, shockingly disappointed by Amazing Spider Man 2 that it just kind of killed my interest in doing more Spider Man videos. So I just left it at that. And as far as Star Wars is concerned, it wasn't me being attacked by the Star Wars fandom as a whole, but um, it was the fan base's reaction to the Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries on Disney Plus, and just once again seeing overwhelmingly just hate, 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 hateful people just spit bile and acid at the show. I absolutely loved it, but it's just the fan base's. I don't even really think, honestly, you can call the Star Wars fan base a fan base anymore. It's more like a hate group at this point. Um, Word from our sponsor, by the way. By the way, this might not be nearly as long as my last two year-end review videos because not only was 2022 a severe mixed bag, there just really wasn't that much done. If you compare my content outlook Or anyway, so hang on, back to Star Wars real quick. Yeah, it's just really the hate group's reaction to Obi-Wan Kenobi that just kind of killed any interest that I had in Star Wars. And I just didn't really want anything to do with that anymore. It was that, and also the next movie that I was supposed to review in the Star Wars franchise was the Han Solo movie. And I don't know what it is about that film. Well, actually, no, I do know. But for the life of me, I could not bring myself to watch it. I had it pulled up on my Vudu account and I stared at it for like half an hour trying to will myself to watch it, and I just couldn't do it. I have absolutely no interest in watching the Solo movie. There is not a damn thing about it that interests me. I'm sorry. I know that the Solo film does have its fans, but it just doesn't ring any of my bells whatsoever. It's not the Star Wars movie that I would have wanted to see. I just don't care. Um, so yeah, back to, not only was 2022 kind of a mixed bag, but there just really wasn't that much done. If you compare my outlet or my output from 2020 and no, 2021 compared to 2022, it's like a night and day difference. I think this will be my 46th video of the entire year, whereas last year I think I did at least 70 or 80 videos last year. Um, and it's just been kind of, another thing that's been holding me back too. Well, there's a lot of things that have been holding me back. One is the constant interruptions. Um, because I work full time and I'm also a dad. So it's really hard to find time to do stuff for yourself. And during my weekends, more often than not, it just kind of almost is a chore some days to do a video, which I really hate to say that. I don't want to sound like one of those dads that has to give up all that he wants to do stuff that he has to do. But some days it really just is like that, unfortunately. And some days it's not very fun. 2022 was also a little bit of a difficult year for me personally. Nothing like 2020, the first half of 2020 by any means, but this whole year I've just kind of felt, honestly, a little bit like a failure. YouTube isn't doing nearly as good. Things at work for a long time were not great. Um, Home life really wasn't all that great. 2022 is just a little bit of a. I kind of felt like a punching bag for a good chunk of 2022. And I just really wasn't motivated to do a whole lot of stuff. And especially now recently, I've been going through some family drama regarding my brother. Uh, um, this year has just been a little difficult, and just really wasn't all that fun. Um, but there were some projects that I did do this year that I really did enjoy. I listed off my top 15 favorite franchises. Um, I listed off my top 100 favorite films. What else did I do? I just did a Batman video for the first time in a long time. Which, by the way, I thought about doing something Power Rangers related because not a week after Kevin Conroy passed away, Jason David Frank, the actor who played Tommy Oliver, the original Green Ranger, White Ranger, the Red Zeo Ranger, and Turbo Ranger, and the Black Dino Ranger took his own life about a week ago, a week or so after Kevin Conroy died. So, and I thought about doing something Power Rangers related, but I don't really have that much knowledge in Power Rangers, and I don't own the original series, nor do I want to. So, and I haven't finished the one Power Rangers season that I would want to review if I was to do some Power Rangers related. So I didn't, but I am aware that Jason David Frank took his own life, and I'm a little sad, but I'm also pretty disappointed because as a fellow parent, I think suicide is is low key the worst thing you could do to a child. So I'm honestly pretty. This might land me in some hot water, but I honestly am a little disappointed in Mr. Frank, um, especially knowing how much Jason loved his children. I just think it was a little selfish what he did. But um, back to stuff I did enjoy. Um, yeah, I enjoyed my top 100 favorite films. I did very much enjoy the first three Spider-Man episodes with Ryan and Jackie Boy. Honestly, I would probably have to say the Spider-Man review series was probably my best work this year. It was just a very pleasant, very fun atmosphere to have celebrating the 20th anniversary of one of the most influential superheroes to come out in the last 20 years. Um, yeah, I'd probably have to say that was my best work. And I started some new series. Of course, I started Star Wars in a format that I like way more than what I was originally doing. Um, I started Super Ultra Binge. That one haven't touched since, only because Ultraman is a huge franchise, guys. If you haven't noticed, considering I've shown every single box set that I own on camera, plus more to come. It's a gigantic franchise, and I don't know if there's people out there that really want to see more of that, but um, I want to do more of that. But I just got to get around to I got to get around to watching more Ultra shows. Another thing that kind of sort of disappointed me is I don't know if I mentioned this, but I had two New Year's resolutions to tackle this year: save a bunch of money and watch a whole bunch of my shows. I failed the first one because parenthood, and I did not succeed at the second one nearly as much as I would have hoped. I actually feel like I definitely bought more shows. I bought twice as many shows as I completed this year. I did complete a couple. Superman the Animated Series, which was a big highlight. Um, I just finished the first episode of Justice League, which is really fucking good. Um, what else did I watch? I finished Kamen Rider V3. I watched Dexter. Um, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Superman the Animated Series is probably my favorite show that I've watched this year. Um, that's a very, very fine series. Um, but I have started. I don't know if I mentioned this. Recently, I took a vacation, and during that vacation, I gave myself a challenge to watch the first episode or two of every single show that I own so that I can at least say I've started every show that I watched. And I managed to or not throw away, give away, I think, five shows that I owned that I just really wasn't feeling, but I did complete that challenge. Actually, so real quick, I'm gonna go look through my show books. At least starting with the first one, so I can tell you what I thought of them. I've seen all of the wives, which I just recently rewatched a couple seasons of Desperate Housewives. Ooh, well, now I've seen the first 3 seasons of Sons of Anarchy and the first 3 seasons of Justified, which I love. Oh, here's another show that I finished. Power Rangers Time Force. I watched the whole series thanks to Linkara over on Atop the Fourth Wall due to his History of Power Rangers series. Power Rangers Time Force was a very, very fun series. I would honestly say, well, no. I guess by default, it is my, I guess, favorite Power Rangers show because it's actually the only Power Rangers show that I've seen from beginning to end. But Power Rangers Time Force was a lot of fucking fun. I would definitely say it's one of like the top 5 or 10 best installments of the series. Uh, I didn't start this because I've seen the first few episodes, but I also have here Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Um, I would probably say Dino Thunder is my favorite series of the Power Rangers franchise. And if I was to do anything Power Rangers related, Dino Thunder is the show that I would have wanted to review because that's very Tommy Oliver centric, and I just think it's his best performance. There we go. I watched the first. Was it 2 or 3? I think 2 episodes of Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. Surprisingly, I actually really liked it. I like the team dynamic. I like the villains. I like the music. I like the fight scenes. I honestly kind of did dig Operation Overdrive. And as I've said, Operation Overdrive is apparently widely seen as one of the worst installments of the entire Power Rangers franchise. So I have a feeling my opinion on Operation Overdrive is going to be pretty unpopular, to say the least. And I also did watch the first 5 episodes of Power Rangers RPM. That is definitely going to be a damn good series. To quote Easy Rider from Toku Time, it's often dubbed the swan song of the Power Rangers franchise. Oh, I know where that is. Justified is definitely going to be another show that I have to finish next year. I watched the very first episode of The Boys, the R-rated, violent, fucked up superhero show from Amazon. I dig it. I dig that series. Only the first episode, but it gave me some very good vibes, and I definitely think, ooh, yeah, I think this is gonna be something I'm gonna like because it's very fucked up and very, very ballsy and very entertaining. So that's the end of this. Pardon. Ugh. What did I finish? Oh, that's another series that I started this year, but Zombie Exploitation, which is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I ended that, but there's going to be more to come. That's just simply the first season of that series. Sadly, because at the time I meant to do a little bit more, but when I had to re-review Doom, that at that point my zombie fad was sort of starting to dwindle again. But I managed to push through, and I had planned to end season one on 5 episodes, but definitely by the end of that, my zombie interest was really starting to wane. I watched the first episode of The Walking Dead World Beyond. Very promising. It's a very gigantic breath of fresh air for the Walking Dead franchise because I have been on very, very shaky ground with The Walking Dead. But World Beyond looks very promising. I watched the entire first season of Prison Break, which I enjoyed. Not as much as I was hoping I would have enjoyed it, but I definitely think Prison Break's a very promising show. The first season started good and it ended pretty good too. A really big event that we had this year that I thoroughly enjoyed was the release of Stranger Things Season 4, which me and Meadow binged through on my last 3-day weekend back when I used to work 10-hour shifts 4 days a week. And man, was that absolutely fucking phenomenal. That was a very, very long season, but worth every single minute. Was it worth waiting more than 2 years? I don't know, but man, was that a phenomenal season. I watched the first episode of the show Surface. Also looks very promising. It's kind of like Godzilla and Creature from the Black Lagoon mixed with Jaws. So I'm game. I finished Chucky season 1. I finished Resident Alien season 1. Oh, I've been mentioning too that 2022 was also a lot of firsts for me. This is another aspect that I think was positive. There was a lot of first time efforts in 2022 of stuff that I'd never done before. Like looking right here, I'm reminded that it was a pretty bad introduction to this genre, but 2022 was the year I reviewed my very first anime in Neon Genesis Evangelion, and it sucked. This was also the first year, or the year where I at first talked about Ultraman in great detail, and that was a lot of fun. I do, like I said, I want to do more um, episodes of Super Ultra Binge. There honestly is a part of me that is kind of wanting to break my mold and do the franchise out of order. Kind of like with how I did my original My Hondathon. The only reason, though, that I think it worked better with My Hondathon is none of those films were sequels. They were just standalone movies that were made in the same genre. But there is a part of me that, well, I think I could get away with doing it with Ultraman because while they are all in the same franchise, each series does stand on its own. There are some shows that are pretty closely connected, but I don't really think there's really. Oh, well, there's Ginga and Ginga S, which those are two. Ginga S is a sequel to Ginga, but I could also kind of see Ginga and Ginga S being combined into one series. Um, but there is a part of me that's kind of wanting to review the franchise out of order, and I'm strongly considering it. Very strongly. Because really the biggest chunk of the Ultraman franchise that I have not seen is the Showa series. I've seen the original in Ultra Q, which I have reviewed, of course, and I've seen most of Ultraman Gaia. I've seen all of Ultraman Neos, all of Mebius, Ultra 7X, and pretty much everything past. Yeah, starting with Neos, I've seen everything all the way up to Ultraman Rube. So, and that's the part of the franchise that I'm the most familiar with is the early to mid 2000s up to 2020 or 2019 because that's when Rube came out. That's the stuff that I'm the most familiar with. And I'm very strongly considering just starting there and getting a lot more episodes of Super Ultra Binge out. I might do it, um, and hopefully it goes over well. Hell, if Kaiju no Kami can do it, so can I. Because why not? Actually, you know what? Yeah, I am gonna do that. I just convinced myself. Next year, because I want to talk about this more. Next year, I will be doing more episodes of Super Ultra Binge, and I'll be doing the franchise out of order. Although I'll try to make each episode of that stand on its own as much as possible, keeping that in mind. Anyways, moving on. Oh, that's another series. I'll get to my plans later. Um, oh, here's a show that I finished. Samurai Jack. I used to own the first two seasons of Samurai Jack, and now I own the entire series. That was another show that I finished from beginning to end, and I loved it. Uh, I'll talk about that again in just a minute. I watched the first two episodes, technically, of the 1980s War of the Worlds show. It's promising, but I get the feeling it's going to be kind of a slow series, but I'm willing to give it a chance. Oh, that's a show that I didn't watch. The Lynda Carter Wonder Woman show. Finished Superman the animated series. I've watched 1/3 of Justice League. I think it's pretty good. Watched the first episode of Great Mazinger. Good sequel to Mazinger Z. I think that's about it. Yep, that's about it. Okay, so with all that being said, that was a fun challenge for myself um, over my vacation. Uh, Another thing that was kind of getting down on me for 2022 is that I made a whole bunch of plans for 2022, and only I think barely half of them succeeded. Like I generally try to give myself a plan for 2022 or not 2022. I try to give myself a plan regarding YouTube every year, but they just don't really seem to plan out as I plan them. Um, which is human nature. You can't always force and set yourself to do certain things when you want to do them. It's just human nature. But I still generally like to keep my promises. But this year, I just kind of feel like I gave you guys a bunch of half C's, or I just didn't hold up to those plans. Um, I did Spider Man, and I did my zombie exploitation series. Another thing that really disappointed me is I barely touched Super Kaiju Binge all year. And I was gonna get back into Super Kaiju Binge right after I finished Zombie Exploitation. I watched The Return of Godzilla. I had my notes all prepared, and I was literally about to start doing my video when my fucking laptop would just not work. So I'm like, God damn it! Right as I'm about to get back into this. And also right now I'm going through another Godzilla binge too. So fuck. Yeah, that's another big disappointment. I barely touched Super Kaiju Binge this year. I did 2 episodes of it with Jackie Boy. I think. Yeah. And I ranked all my Super Kaiju Binge episodes so far, but that's it. 3 videos in a whole year for kaiju films. It's lame. Um, so that's another pretty big disappointment for this year. 2022 overall, I don't want to say that it was a failure content wise. There were definitely some high highs, but I think there was also some the lowest of lows this year. So that was unfortunately pretty disappointing. But fret not. I do plan to make 2023 a big improvement over 2022 in terms of content. I have some plans that I actually really do want to get into for 2023. Um, Viewers might be getting annoyed with this, but there's a series that I want to do. I'm going to call it Super Cyborg Binge. Or maybe Cyborgathon. Actually, no, I think I like Super Cyborg Binge more. Where I will be once again re reviewing Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genisys, and Terminator Dark Fate, as well as reviewing both seasons of Terminator The Sarah Connor Chronicles. I am not happy with my T3 and T Salvation reviews. T3 because there's a lot of video quality issues with that video. And having rewatched them, I kind of feel like I was a bit too negative regarding it. And as far as Terminator Salvation goes, it just kind of felt very disjointed and jumbled and also too short. So I want to redo those. And as far as Genisys and Dark Fate goes, it's been 2.5 years since I reviewed those films, and especially for Terminator Dark Fate, my opinion has drastically changed for the better. Although I still agree with all of my criticisms of Terminator Dark Fate, I feel I can give the film much more praise now that I've watched it a whole bunch more times. And as far as Terminator Genisys goes, that one also suffers from a lot of audio and visual problems. So I just think it's due for a rehauling. I also am going to be re-reviewing the original RoboCop trilogy for mainly the same reasons. I feel there are still some technical, because at the time when I first moved into this place, our internet was still very hit or miss, to say the least. And that was always really frustrating. And when I go back to rewatch them, I still hear the glitches and the bugs, and they just drive me crazy. So, and I also, part of the Super Cyborg Binge, I'll be reviewing those, but I've also added to the RoboCop franchise. I've added the RoboCop Prime Directives miniseries, which I want to review and give my thoughts on. And I've also finally gotten my hands on, because that was another show that I watched on my vacation. I watched the pilot movie and the first episode of RoboCop the series from 1994. And I want to review that as part of Super Cyborg Binge. I think that'd be really fun. And I've also decided for Super Cyborg Binge, I will also be reviewing the 2014 RoboCop remake. So that should be fun. And they're not the same franchise. They're not owned by the same studios. But I actually low key do feel, since Orion distributed the original Terminator, and Orion produced and distributed the original RoboCop, I kind of do like to consider Terminator and RoboCop to be spiritual, kind of like with Alien and Predator, although not as much, because Alien and Predator are owned by the same company, and they have crossed over before, so I do consider that to be the same franchise. But just like with how Alien goes perfectly with Predator, I do feel that Terminator goes perfectly with RoboCop. So I kind of do low key consider them to be the same series. Um, so after all that's said and done, I'll probably just give a big ranking video of all of those movies. I do plan to, of course, get back into Super Kaiju Binge. There's a part of me that might want to finish Super Kaiju Binge um, in 2023 because I feel that, or not, I feel, all that's really left. The Showa series, like from the 1930s to the 1970s, I feel like that was the golden age of kaiju films. Even though we're going through a giant kaiju renaissance right now, which is great. Um, Really, now the focus is just Ultraman, Godzilla, and King Kong, with Gamera returning in 2023, so that'll be fun to watch. But going forward, because also next year is the 90th anniversary of King Kong, I think when I get back to Super Kaiju Binge, I'm gonna plow through the rest of the Kong films. And I'll divide Super Kaiju Binge up into seasons. Like one season I'll plow through the rest of Kong's movies. One season I'll plow through the rest of Gamera's movies. There's only four, but still. One season I'll plow through the Heisei Godzilla series. One season I'll plow through the Millennium Godzilla series, and then the MonsterVerse, and then Pacific, and then other American monster movies like Cloverfield and Pacific Rim will be be its own season. So I still am gonna stick to the formula of, well, I'll do stuff in chunks because I don't want to force myself to do um, a whole big giant series if my heart's just not into it. But I definitely do want to finish a season of something before I move on to something else and leave people hanging. Finish what I started. Because that's unfortunately a bad habit that I slipped into for a good chunk of 2022. Um, there will be other projects that I want to do. I want to review a couple more anime shows, like maybe Guyver or Mazinger Z, just to wash the bad taste of Neon Genesis Evangelion out of my mouth. I do want to get more into superhero films, like review the DC Extended Universe. I haven't seen Black Adam, though it does look very promising. And I haven't seen the Peacemaker show, and that looks hilarious. But since I did that ranking video with Shawnee Boy, a couple of my opinions have changed, but we have gotten a few more movies into that series. So I think it's time for a bit of an update regarding that series. Not that I'm going to say I'm going to re-rank the series, even though I might, but I want to get back into doing some superhero stuff, mainly DC. I might do some Marvel miscellaneous stuff here and there, but who knows? Marvel is really not in a good spot with me right now. I think the MCU is in total shambles, and I give it T minus 2 or maybe 3 years before the franchise just implodes. Um, I am so not interested in the MCU right now. It's not even funny. Uh, Next year too, I want to review some Power Rangers stuff because also next year is the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers. And I will also be finishing the Jurassic Park series. Next year is the 30th anniversary of that. And now I do own Jurassic World Dominion, the extended cut, and I have to finish Camp Cretaceous. Fuck. That show's not good. Um, I also might want to do something Transformers related next year because that's another franchise that I watched this year. Was I finally have now seen the previous five Transformers films before Bumblebee, and especially next year with Transformers: Rise of the Beasts coming out. Now I'm definitely interested in seeing that. Um, So yeah, I definitely have some plans for 2023, and I really want to try to stick to those plans. To sum up 2022, it was a mixed bag for me. I had some personal shit happen to me that wasn't that great. I had some work stuff that wasn't that great. And as far as YouTube was concerned, I really do think it's definitely been the most mixed bag year of my entire YouTube career. Maybe not the worst year because I think that was 2019. Considering I just abandoned you guys for a good chunk of 2019. But I'd say this year was probably the weakest year since 2019. Sadly. But that's all I really have to say. 20 there were some really good things at 2022. The Spider-Man videos, top 100 favorite films, um, my top 15 favorite franchises, um, my movie collection, which is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Um, Super Ultra Binge was fun. Zombie exploitation was fun. There were some good things, but 2022 is just not that great of a year, unfortunately. But hopefully next year, um, definitely hopefully next year, I really want to work to make 2023 a much better year. So hopefully that'll come to fruition. With all that being said, thank you all for watching my channel throughout this tumultuous year. Um, Thank you to all the guests that I've had on my channel throughout 2022, like Shawnee Boy, Ryan, especially, and Jackie Boy. Thank you all. It was a good year for some of it, and I enjoyed all of their guest appearances, especially Spider Man. That was definitely probably my best work this year. That was a lot of fun. So post your comments down below and let me know what you think, and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends, and look forward to more videos coming in 2023. And as always, go out, watch some movies, spend time with your friends and family, and have yourselves a Merry Christmas and a Happy Thanksgiving. And I will see all you guys, there it is, in the next one.